Yahoo! Prof here. And we got Gert and Ophelia. How are you? Yeah. Just so you know, all of your cats need a steel case as their cat bed. Yeah. We at least put the quilt on there so it gets less full of cat fur. See? We did have something on the back, and if you want to see how full of cat fur it would be, if you look back there behind her, yeah, imagine the whole seat like that at all times. But yeah, so just your kittens and cats, they need a steel case chair to sleep in. Obviously, look at how comfortable and ergonomic this cute granny cat is. And we got King Arthur James over here in the panda chair. He particularly likes these chair. Oh, look at that leg come out. Yeah, King Arthur. He particularly likes these covers you can get for your chairs when they start peeling. You can see the arm peeled off completely. Almost there. Well, underneath it looks like that all the way around. That's why avoid the fake leather, guys. Get cloth or mesh. But if you don't buy good mesh like a Herman Miller or a higher end name brand, I can tell you it's going to start stretching. What are we, 10 years old now? I think 2016. 9 years old. Sits just as good as she did day one, if not better, because I added the old headrest. Also, Aaron, I know, like, oh, we didn't design it to be a headrest. Sometimes you just need a little lean back and relax. You know, just a little sit back, take your eyes off the screen a little bit. You're supposed to anyway. And the headrest really does help in those scenarios. We're widening her up a little bit because we got a big box over there. Still drinking my Topo Chico. This is a long box. So, it's fragile. What are you guys thinking? LDPO. M is medium. 90 is. What do you think that's supposed to fit? For those in question. Just give this a slicey slice. I was wondering, this came in from CDJapan. If you were recognizing the sort of brown paper tape that is kind of iconic to Japan. The only thing more iconic to Japan is the, I forget, is it Mike Harmods that calls it bondage tape? It's basically duct tape, but it's brown. I don't know why you would need brown duct tape. Actually, better question. Why is duct tape silver by default when we don't use it on ducks? It is, in fact, bad at being duct tape. Yeah. You want the aluminum tape, you got to peel the back off. Let's do that. Yee-hee! You know your order is big when it takes 2 packing slips. That is for sure, isn't it? Whew. Starting this one a wee bit late, too. I've got a meeting bright and early on Wednesday. And that means tomorrow night I won't be shooting a video. And Wednesday night I won't be shooting a video. So I need 3 videos tonight. Luckily, we have enough things to make 3 videos for you guys. I just get to reduce my sleep. quantity. Okay, so we're starting to see why this is so long. I think I've gotten smaller boxes before with them. Can you play I Spy and tell me why you got the long box? Jeez, the amount of packing coming out here. Gotta admit, they pack it good. Oh, I know which one this is. That's a pricey guy right there. Like, is that a book? Quite possibly. Quite possibly. I'm guessing before I'm opening them up. Good on you. Let me know if you get any right. That one you could probably get right. Then we've got, more than likely, this is a poster. Yep, they usually come in this sort of bent over tube in that like sort of green tissue paper that is really common. Probably a promotional poster. I have a ton of them around here. B2 sized ad poster. That would be it. It does not say Tokuten 24647. We got 2 postcards and a B2 size ad poster. I'm not sure which of those that we just opened up that the ad poster is for. This is usually vinyl. Do we have one on here? No. I don't think. Maybe I don't know how to read a packing slip manifest. Though. So, for those that have watched my CDJapan videos before, I did finally get all the figures in. The whole collection is here. No, I don't have any pictures or video of them all out because I don't have a place to put them. So, in the last video, I kind of go over, if you guys know of places that make stuff that would be tall enough to fit those in, ideally lit, that are covered on all sides so I don't get kitty fur in them, because they're very nice and I would like to preserve them and at the same time show them off, possibly even wall mount them in the office or something, or in the basement, you know, but like put them on top of a shelf that doesn't have a top. All mine will eventually have a top though, so maybe that's not the best idea. Oh, I just zapped myself. Static's been going down as we've been warming up a little bit, but not a ton. Ooh, on Apex. Oh, is this the... So this is a vinyl sized... They call these mega art, I believe. Mega album art. Like, you can pre-order. I've gotten those before from TK. If you pre-order it, you can get... It's basically... It's his single. But you can... And this is the single from Solo Leveling. It'd be the ending. On Apex. You can get the mega art versions, and I've gotten some of these for the Spellbound as well. A lot of the anime ones they'll make mega art versions for, and that's what that is. Or mega, I don't know if mega art is the right term, but in here, if I were to open it, it's just a CD. Compact disc. So that's what that is, and that's why it looked like it came in a vinyl. It's because those mega art ones are the same as, I don't think that's a 7-inch vinyl, so maybe a 10-inch vinyl. You know, 10-inch vinyl, what the heck's that? Well, it's a 10-inch vinyl. Duh. Often the 10-inch ones, if I recall, were mono back in the day. I might be remembering wrong, because I have a couple that are like that, but modern ones are just 33 RPM, I believe, usually. in this guy we got Tokyo Ska Paris Orchestra No Border Hits 2025 to 2021. And this is the 3 CD and Blu-ray variant. For me, I am really into it for the Blu-ray part of it. So it's going to go over, you know, so they're going 2025 and back. So Paradise Has No Border, No Border All-Stars, all the way back to, I can't read Japanese, Diamond in Your Heart would be one. Feet Ellegarden Hiatus, bunch of 10 feet. It looks like a lot of these also have, if we can zoom on in a 2x here, these are 2025 remasters of all of these, which is pretty awesome. That they're going to go back through and stereo. Interesting. Thought they would comment on that. Because one would assume linear PCM, 2-channel. They don't say quality. Usually on the Blu-ray, that's 2448. Could be high res at 2496. If that's the case, winner, winner, chicken dinner. That's part of the reason why you want the video versions as well, is because you might actually get higher quality than what's on the CD. Because CD nowadays, okay, it's like CDs aren't bad quality. Don't let people tell you that, right? A quality ripped CD or CD itself, like even just a CD on its own, sounds really good, right? If it's been mastered properly. However, if you get audio made out of the get-go to be presented in high res, like a lot of TK's stuff is, or the Spellbound and stuff that Nakano has done, kind of solo works, and up until as they were doing the Spellbound. And there's some artists that do that as well, but like you can hear the difference because they're all the way through producing it for that. So, not saying the CD would sound bad if it's produced well, like a proper, and I actually would trust like what they call a Red Book CD, which is like a physical, not stamped, pressed CD. I would trust that over streaming any day of the week, because there's a high chance, and this happens all the time on streaming, that if you get like a best of album like this, granted, that might be why they did the 2025 remasters. What a lot of the streaming places will do is they will actually go through the album versions, and they will be like, oh yeah, so this is greatest hits album, that's actually just this track off that album, this track off that album, this track off that. That means they have to retain less data, and also for the artists it can actually be better because that specific track is actually going to get more plays, but it is actually less correct, as in most cases most of these have what do you want to say, like unique masterings, depending on how they're released and where they're from. But even like, say like Queen, that was remastered in the 90s, right? Versus and that's like basically the time you don't want it to be remastered, because that's when they just pushed everything. Like there's no dynamic range basically in those masterings a lot of the time. And that started the loudness wars, as in basically who can cram the most loud on a CD rather than mastering for dynamic range and that sort of stuff. So yeah, maybe that's why they did specifically have different versions, but I've seen that, and you're like, well, how does it help with artists? Well, they get, so if you're trying to hit, like be on a chart as like the most played, or you're trying to get a certain, because apparently streaming now counts as like to get records platinum and stuff. If you can use the greatest hits tracks that are just like rerouted, I want to say album tracks, but there's like another term for it. Some of these will actually have it on there. Instrumental English version. It's like the, not retail's the wrong term, but like the produced album version. Someone would say album version on there, but there's another term that I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe it'll hit me by the end of the video. There's another term for that. And you know, if they just do that, they can rack up more listens, which might make that album platinum, or that single. Sometimes too, with even singles, what they'll do is once the album is out, they'll actually just make that single, if it's like just link to the version that's on the album, which may or may not be the same track, depending. Hopefully somebody's looking to see if it truly is the same track or not just like, it's got the same name and it says album version, you know, like, because often the single versions on these, like from TK, will be extended. You know, there's TV edit that's usually shortened. In that case, that's going to be for an anime. They're a minute and a half for opening and ending. Or opening especially is always minute and a half. Or right on there. Dead nuts. I get very good at, like, just, like, if things don't have chapters. By the way, people, put in chapters. It is not that hard. But I'm very good at kind of like, oh, that's right where it should be. Just over the years of watching a lot of shows. And like, oh, you're the type of person that skips the opening and ending. If it's one I really like and it's amping me up, I won't skip it. But yeah, if I'm trying to like watch the series, I will definitely watch it, especially the first time through. The first episode that actually has both the ending and the opening, or if I see a different one, I will watch it and see what the vibe's like. I want to say like 2 seasons ago from now, they had very good ones. You know, like the solo leveling both seasons is good. Apothecary Diaries, I think previous season was probably better than the current one. But Spy Family, ooh, so good. But so what we got here? Blankey Jet City, Blu-rays, 2025 remaster, and you're like, huh? You had a lot of vinyl from them that was remastered, like analog remastered direct to vinyl. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So this is also part of their stuff of original releases December 13th, 1995. So they're releasing, kind of like Tokyo Ska did with all of their, they did that a couple years ago with 2 Blu-ray sets of all of their music videos. So they're doing the same thing with their live stuff. This is 1995, 8/26, live in Yoyogi Park. And I'm guessing these 4 are all similar, and they're the rest of those Blu-rays. Because unlike the vinyl that they like slowly trickled out, like 1 or 2 at a time. I want to say it was groups of 2. Often they'll do that when releasing it. These Blu-rays were all done in one giant dump. Like, the packaging on them, as good as the album art is, the packaging is like, I can feel that is a cheap plastic Blu-ray case. And I can tell you these were not cheap. Here. So now these are not as expensive as you know, that's like, if prior to, you gotta remember, like, Japan prices still say those prices in Japan. This is still pretty normal over time for like a Blu-ray or something. That's like, that would have been like $50. Now that's like $20 or $30 because of how poor the yen is. And I can tell you that the like how these are packaged, and this is probably why they all got released as is, and why they are as cheap as they are, because I have seen single discs of anime go for $230 easy, right? movies, like limited editions of movies and stuff like that. Easily do that. So this definitely, they seem to have gone the opposite of their vinyl, which were very premium. The sleeves in them were amazing quality. Like I won't even be replacing them for the inner sleeves. These, they kind of went the opposite. It looks like hopefully they spent all the money on the remastering of them, full HD remaster, and not on the packaging, because this is, I think this one's even loose. Yeah. This is just, that's just a plastic, it's not even a Blu-ray case, to be truthful. That's a DVD case. Though I don't know if Japan uses Blu-ray cases. Anybody know? I think I have some, but all of mine are music related. Might have, no, I think I got some weird clear ones out of Japan. I'm trying to remember, but I have gotten a lot of Blu-rays from Japan that do not use Blu-ray cases, which is interesting. So this seems to be a play on the album art that they would have had for the album. So this is 1994 tour, recorded at NHK Hall. So I don't know if this is just one, like, okay, so they say 1994 116. I'm surprised it's not on the front. They call it Anglefish Complete Collection, which is interesting because normally when they do that, they would do something like 9mm Parabellum Bullet does, where what they do is they take, say, 1 or 2 tracks from each tour stop, or 1 or 2 tracks from each tour stop that were set up well enough to record, or then they can pull the best version of each song from various stops, you know, like that sort of stuff. Or maybe at certain venues they will put on more of a show for certain tracks. Then they can put all of the better versions together effectively, if that makes some sense. But this does, despite saying complete edition and being like about a tour, be a specific one on the tour, 1994. Yes, like this would have been when I was quite young. I didn't find out about them until probably within 10 years ago. This is like classic Japanese rock. Not like classic rock, but like Japan style rock. You can tell that like they heavily influenced 9mm Parabellum Bullet. Well, technically they're in there, but the back horn influenced them. They would have influenced the back horn. This one's loose too. Like the packaging ain't great. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna have to crack them open and look and make sure the discs survive. But and the formatting of the packaging is like variation of their album cover. This is actually like a sleeve that's over the bottom that has this info, not even printed on, like without that on the bottom, this would feel even less premium with how this is formatted here. Now, like I said, on the cheaper side for Japan. The single in the Mega Jacket was half of one of these. That's 4 versions of the same track, not a Blu-ray. It does read as BD-ROM, though, which is interesting. Okay, 1080 60i, PCM 2448. Is that the same for all these? Reading upside down, 2448, 24. Actually, they have it listed as 4824. But yeah, it would be interlaced because this is the 90s. They are recording not digitally, that is on film. Or maybe digital tape? Maybe. Like a DV tape? I would have to remember when that's out, but I think that would still be film, early 90s. Japan was definitely ahead of the thing. Yeah, it wouldn't have been digital because they couldn't have restored it back to full HD then, if it wasn't film. Because you know, digital back then was very digital. Like, all right, we got Monkey Strip. That was Barracuda Barracuda, Tokyo 6 Days. That was 1998. Oh, yeah, this is a combination of 3.5. You know, like, so they did pull it from different performances. That's the word I was looking for there. So Monkey Strip, Blankey Jet City. 94. Yeah, this shit looks like a single club thing. It does say BD-ROM. Interesting. I don't remember most Blu-rays from there saying BD-ROM. We may have to get the iPhone and see if the iPhone's charged to translate that. I wonder if they're going to pull what Spellbound has done. And you're like, what do you mean what they've done? They have put high-res audio on here natively. Meaning you don't have to, you know, is the term rustle the jimmies? Is that still a thing? Please play a Blu-ray ROM disc in newer generation compatible player. Each playback function to operate normally. High quality images and audio. I don't know, because it says Blu-ray ROM. That makes me think that it, like, they're intending on having it a different function in a computer versus in a Blu-ray player. Which, like I said, I've had other bands deliver, like, basically they're like, oh, you bought our Blu-ray? Cool, we've delivered a high-res version of that on the Blu-ray without you, because you could strip the audio out of, like, it's not a bad thing. It's actually kind of cool, because you could easily, once you get the video, the audio is in the container, and you just go gank, and you chop by chapter. I think I've even made videos on how to do that. I do like that it has a little bit of sheen on that one. And then they did the classic, like that's almost like whiteout, like what I do. You write with whiteout on electrical tape. And yes, there's definitely some silver, because they had to for this monkey strip up here. That it's not as on the front, but definitely on the back, you get more of like a sheen to it. Then we have Blankey Jet City Dog Food. I think this cover's got a bit more work into it. Oh, look at that too, sideways. So these will be interesting. Like I said, packaging. This one's even cheaper. It's only $38.50, probably because there's less tracks on it, I'd imagine. Yeah, 14 tracks, 18 tracks, 19 tracks, 12 tracks. How they get some of those incredibly long amount of tracks, by the way, on those, is because they're not just doing one performance. Like, they may have a set list of X number of new tracks from the new album, and then they splice other tracks, like other very well-known hits in between there. You know, or they'll do the big ones off the new album and then their hits. Well, they might not do the same hits at every venue, or they might have more encore, etc. And they'll splice all that together to give you, like, yeah, here was everything that was there for reference. At least based on my experience. And I if there is a band that you actually enjoy and properly listen to, check out their live stuff, because there's a chance that I think a number of, I shouldn't say a lot, not all, but a good number of the bands that I listen to seem to sound better live, because there's not as much tweaking and tuning. In Japan, there's a lot of that. Like, there's a lot of appearances, and it's got to be perfect. Bump of Chicken is one of the bands that, if you look at listen to, I think it's Arcadia, which is the opening they did for Pokemon. That is, like, overdone, overprocessed. That done live, blissful.
I believe 9mm too, until they've been getting better over time on their, especially once they went to their own indie studio, they've gotten better on processing their stuff. But I would still argue their best sound comes out live. It's less, and I'm not saying you shouldn't fine tune your album versions. I forget what the other terminology in my head. Still, I haven't hit it. What I'm talking about, but it's like the like your very perfect version that you put out. They can fine tune that, or say lead guitarist can play every track, for example, or because often 9mm will have like backup guitarists on stage to fill in for other roles that aren't like they need more for certain tracks, or they need like that sort of stuff, and it's from other very good bands, but they're not like, and they regularly tour with them as well, but they might not record on the album, and also like, oh, you can get the very perfectest one that and sometimes it can almost be stale because it's like too clean, too tuned, and because they're playing together on a stage, versus when you're recording, you're often nowadays you record the tracks completely separately while possibly listening to what's already been recorded, or like a version of it that's been not perfected, and then you record your part, and then they intertwine, and they like they really like perfect, like that's its own thing. That's like music production. But some of those I feel like they can really get to like the whereas once they have to do it live, they have a bit more freedom. Let's call it that. I do also prefer often live mixing of audio versus the like in studio stuff. But some of these bands go to the extent of, like, I know TK, like they will go and record in a certain studio in Germany because they prefer the sound of the actual studio, like the ambience it provides. Not every band goes that far, nor do they care to. I do know that I forget, he's a Western composer and for anime stuff and anime music and soundtracks, and they've even recorded some of that stuff to get the correct ambiance and stuff like that. They've gone to certain chapels over Europe, and like they're really like that. That's what a lot of the I feel like your standard album misses is that sort of stuff. They get a little stale in their presentation because they're trying to be too, and think about it. And the reason why they do that somewhat is because they're going to, on a streaming service or on like YouTube especially, smush it down to 64 kilobit opus, and somebody's gonna be listening it on their phone speaker or on a Chromebook or on a Amazon Fire tablet. Whereas the live stuff, they know if you're buying that, more than likely you're not the average consumer of their, even in general, much less their stuff. All right, so we have TK, we got a postcard of TK. Which one's this? We got another postcard of TK. Now this is his Big Boy Who's Blue new album. Oh, and this is the ultra premium one. And you're like, this has Unapex on it. So you're like, why did you get the single when you got this? Well, we've been over this in the past with how I order Japanese music. I order it in is Who's Blue just a compilation of singles? It might be. I might be wrong with it being a full album. Sometimes he'll take a compilation of singles though and like add some stuff and make it into a whole album. Scratches on here. First Death, that's from Chainsaw Man. Unapex is obviously Soul Leveling. Bonus CD Brain Films single. Music videos documentary. I believe this book is all photos he took himself, if I recall correctly. I don't remember Grant. Microwaver sounds new too. So yeah, it's looking like he definitely took some of these singles that he's made for anime and turned it into an album. So, like a moment. Okay, so let's see. We got 1080p, 24. Yep, 24, 48. That's pretty common. Yep, photo book. 2 CD plus BD plus photo book. So the second CD is Brain Films. Acoustic installation, Popeye, Five Lives, Sony Calippo, Like a Moment. So those are tracks. And then the BD is Still in Orbit, music video. So I wonder what the Brain Films... I should probably know this. I probably knew it when I ordered this, because this is the super duper, premium one here. But sadly, off the top of it, because we're getting to nearly 5 a.m., my brain has stopped functioning very well. But if you were to buy any band's limited edition, TK from Ling Tosite Sigure, like his personal work singles, his personal work limited edition, not his singles necessarily. Some of that can be really nice as well, but especially his albums, over the top. The amount of stuff included in here, and sadly, I really don't want to crack this open right now. Some of you guys are probably like, "Oh, you should show it off." Blah 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 blah. Maybe if we get some people asking about it, I might do it. Paisley's going in boxes over there. But if you really want to see like what a proper limited or premium edition is, like, he sets the standard with his stuff. I have other ones too where he included prints of all of his photos that he took while recording the album, I believe it was. This may be a similar thing. This may be a whole book of them that he did. I think this might be on a trip. That's where this cover art comes from as well. I might be spouting out of my patukas though. But I always enjoy a lot of his stuff. There was a recent interview I saw that he and somebody else, forget who it was, but they actually do aim towards more of a Western audience. Like, they actually try. I wouldn't say like they like specifically compose and that sort of stuff for them, but they do keep them in mind when creating stuff and marketing. And I could see that because TK, I would say around with like Tokyo Ghoul stuff, got super popular. To be truthful, I didn't even know that was his for like the longest time until I was listening to his stuff. And I'm like, oh, hey. And you're like, well, how did you do that? Well, because brain no worky sometimes, okay? Or like, that's the other thing is I listen generally to either everything on shuffle. Like, I literally take all of my music and just shuffle. And until I land on an artist or an album or a style that I'm like, oh, I'm vibing with this, let's go find more. Like, literally the iPod Shuffle was my iPod. It was perfect because what it would do is it would just play alphabetically, and if you did it right, it would go album or artist album track for that album, right? So if you put it on shuffle and you're like, oh, I'm vibing, then you take it off shuffle and it'll just play through whatever's left in the album and or then the artist, That is basically how I have listened to music always. Or if I'm going to sit down and listen. Now, if I am listen to a pair of headphones, I'm going to pick individual tracks I am intimately familiar with. Like opening track of Brothers and Sisters from Soil and Pimp Sessions. Oof, brilliant. And other tracks that I'm intimately familiar with. But when I'm listening to music, I listen album start to stop or live start to stop. That is also why I do enjoy, when given time and actually having the setup readily available, listening to vinyl, because that's how it works. You just put it down. I mean, you can listen to tracks that happen more and more later when they had like auto selecting turntables and stuff like that. But for the most part, especially if you're on a hi-fi setup, you put the vinyl down, it plays half of it, you flip it, plays the other half. Probably if it's a full album, you go and get the second one, you toss it on, you listen to it. Most artists, TK, where he does a lot of singles that are made for things, may not always apply to him. But like, they'll try to compose an album. You don't just make tracks. Now, if you're making pop tracks, often you'll get a bunch of them, you get a bunch of hits, and you'll try and graft them together. TK does do that. This is probably what one of these is. But he actually does manage to craft an entire album around it, rather than just having a bunch of like extra stuff nobody will ever listen to. And that's he had, the other thing is with his stuff, they had during COVID, his documentary he made streamed initially with Japanese, but then they literally had a separate showing with English subtitles. Like, so he's actually trying to like appeal to the Western world, which, hey, I appreciate it. He's a master at his craft. He's like one of the people, like, one of the classic anime directors, if you think of it that way, where like, just hand him a blank check and like, they're gonna make something. That's why he ends up on a lot of anime openings, endings. People know that he'll make something for them that does what they want it to do. Don't give him a lot of guardrails, and you'll get something. It is still of his style, and I can always tell too when he's involved with either the writing or the composing or the production of somebody else's track. I'm like, TK was involved in here. Similar to Motsu from Move. Immediately I know his voice and the style of track. He's got a certain style. But it's like, oh, they're the same thing over. No, like somehow it's like variations on a theme, if that makes sense. They find all these different ways to execute something familiar. It's very well done. Check out their stuff. But yeah, the respect that TK gets too is interesting. Also, he is the lead singer and lead guitarist. Yeah, not just rhythm guitarist, but. And you're like, oh, how do you differentiate that? You go, well, if we can find the documentary, check it out. It is quite interesting. He has a unique way of playing, a unique way of writing. A lot of that probably comes down to that he was never classically trained. Though I believe had parents that were. But that's where some of his unorthodox techniques come from. Often he'll describe something, and one of his people he works with will actually notate it down so other people can know what he's describing or intending on playing. I knew when I heard this stuff, and then especially like I almost prefer his solo work in many cases to Ling Tosite Sigure. Still like their stuff as well, but he's got more only has to make what he wants here. You know, I mean, unless he's making it for something or someone. So yeah, check out the stuff. Let me know what you guys think of my haul. You know, it's basically TK, Blankey Jet Steady, and the new sort of 2025 compilation remaster from Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra. A lot of these, they all have Blu-rays. And that can take a hot minute to, let's just say, digitize. They're already digital on the discs. Exactly. And I now own the discs, right?
Miss Pays has shown up. And he's making a ruckus. So it is time to hit the hay.
And hopefully we'll see you in future videos. Peace.